class, today I will be teaching you about the maneuver S-turns. This maneuver is important because it shows the relation between smooth coordination and division of attention. Smooth coordination is basically staying coordinated throughout the whole entire maneuver with your turns, making sure you're not slipping or skidding. And then division of attention is you being able to look outside and inside the airplane and keep a constant distance from your line of reference. So the setup stage, we'll be completing this maneuver at 1,000 feet AGL. The reason is because the ACS standards says that for these ground-based reference maneuvers, you have to be between 600 feet and 1,000 feet AGL. And picking 1,000 feet around here would mean that we are at about 700 since our field elevation is 300 in Eastman. So next, we'll be doing this maneuver or entering the maneuver at 2,300 RPMs. And that will leave us at about 105 knots, which is important because it is below our maneuvering speed in our aircraft, in the Archer. We will need to complete a before landing checklist, which will be turning your fuel pump on. Check this. That'll be turning your fuel pump on, landing light on, and making sure your mixture's rich and things like that. And we also call this the pre-maneuver check. The next stage of the setup would be your clearing turns. And while you're doing your clearing turns, you want to be looking for the 3 T's, which is traffic, terrain, and or towers or anything like that. And you can use your instructor to help out and look for these things as well. And then lastly, you want to look for emergency fields. Since this maneuver will be completed close to the ground, you want to pick a field or you want to pick a line of reference that's close to a field because you'll be at low altitude and won't have that much time to reach a field since you don't have that much altitude. And you can complete the looking for your emergency fields while you're doing your clearing turns. The ACS, for ACS, we already talked about how you have to be between 600 and 1,000 feet AGL. Your airspeed, you need to be plus or minus 10 knots from what you start at. So you want to remain between 95 and 115 knots while you're completing this maneuver. And you want to maintain your altitude, which is our 1,000 feet AGL, plus or minus 100 feet. So the important part of this maneuver would be your entry. So you want to enter this maneuver with a tailwind. And since you are entering this maneuver at a tailwind, it's going to make it so your angle of bank is going to vary throughout the maneuver. When you cross your reference line at all 3 points, 1, 2, and 3, you want to be at wings level. And as soon as you pass over your reference line at wings level, you're going to start your bank. Since you have a tailwind, your ground speed is going to be increased. You'll be at a faster ground speed, and it's going to cause for a steeper angle of bank on this first turn. At this point, you're going to have a moderate bank angle. And at this point, it will be a shallow bank. And it will be the same for these. It'll be shallow, moderate, and steep on this side as well. While you're doing these turns, you want to maintain a coordinated flight. So just make sure that ball's in the middle. You know, you have the triangle with the trapezoid underneath that you're trying to maintain, you know, step on the ball and maintain coordinated flight. So some of the common errors that new students face or private students face while completing this maneuvers are faulty entry procedures. And this would be something like not entering with a tailwind, or maybe even not making a left-hand turn, because in the ACS it does state that you should begin with a left-hand turn, not a right-hand turn. Another one would be poor planning or division of attention. And we already talked about the division of attention. You want to be able to have your reference line be visible at all times, so you know at which point in the turn you're in. And you want to be able to cross over that reference line at wings level. So you have to keep a constant stand between your instruments and outside in order to complete that. Another would be uncoordinated use of flight controls. And we already talked about this as well. You know, just keeping that ball centered as you're going through your steep banks, shallow banks, whatever it is. You want to just always remain in coordinated flight. And you got improper correction of wind drift. An improper correction of wind drift, that's like, so since you're entering with a tailwind and your ground speed's gonna be quicker, if you don't do this steeper angle of bank here at the beginning, if you don't do a steep angle of bank, this circle will come out wide like so. And then if you don't do a shallow bank here and you choose to do a steep one, this one could be cut like that. And you wouldn't have a symmetrical, you know, S turn along that reference line. And that's why it's important to compensate for that wind drift. Next we have what I was just talking about, which is an unsymmetrical ground track. And that's what I was just talking about, you know, if you don't put in this steep angle of bank, this, you know, upside down U up here, this part of the S will be a lot larger, and this one could be smaller depending on what you don't correct for. You could failure to maintain altitude and airspeed. And that goes back to the ACS, you know, you have to be within those 10 knots plus or minus, and plus or minus 100 feet. And that'll kind of come in with the division of attention. You know, if you're focusing too much outside, you might not see that you're descending or ascending, or, you know, slowing down or speeding up, so you have to have that constant scan inside and outside the aircraft. And lastly, selection of ground reference line. Without a suitable landing field. And you know, that's where when you're doing your clearing turns, or maybe even after your clearing turns, you're looking at your reference line or whatever you picked out and making sure it's near some big fields where if you were to lose an engine or something go wrong at a low altitude like this, you can get over there quickly and safely, and you know, make a safe landing. And yeah, that's it.
you.